steal the mic. Here we go. Where was the defense? All these great players, and it's like they didn't show up. Not one sack, not one turnover. Wow, steal the mic. If I would have known that was going to be the first question, man, oh man, I would have liked your comment as well, because that is a great way to kick this thing off. In terms of the defense, man, very disappointed. Obviously disappointed as a whole, because anytime you allow 41 points, the defense allowed 41. Obviously, the other touchdown was on the errant snap, the first play of the game. But anytime you allow 40 points as a defense, it's never a good performance under any way, shape, or form. And then when you talk about the different variables coming into this game, right? Them not having their all-world guard in Joe Bitonio, them not having their offensive line coach, assistant offensive line coach, head coach, the personnel that they were putting out there from an offensive line standpoint was already a competitive advantage for us. And then you lose your, best remaining tackle in terms of Jack Conklin. He goes down, and yeah, everything was pointing to this is supposed to be where we dominate. This is supposed to be, if everything is going bad, this is the settling force. And the reason I was so disappointed and frustrated was because the two A players that we have in that front seven in terms of TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, we didn't get A-level performances from them. And that was the frustrating part, because I thought both of them had very favorable matchups. We highlighted Cam Hayward going against Michael Dunn, a guy who was on practice squad for a large portion of the season and didn't have a ton of playing experience. We talked about TJ Watt and how hot he has been coming into this game, but neither one of them made, any type of substantial play in that game. When did we ever feel like, man, that's the break we needed? That's the play we needed, man. Great hurry right here. Great hit on the QB. Did Baker get touched yesterday? The answer, if I remember correctly,
there was one or two times where it was close, but then he scrambled out, just kind of like he did in the game prior.
Literally no sacks. I looked at the official QB hit stats, no QB hits as well. That's not good. When you talk about how we view our pass rush, how we view our D-line.
As the staple.
And let's be real, it was TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Tuitt. So you had your guys. It wasn't like
Highsmith for a portion of the game.
Right. Yeah, at least till right about halftime is when he went down. And obviously we thought that, hey, when Cassius Marsh came in, yes, you expect a little bit of a drop off, especially in the run game. Anyone that has watched him when he was in Seattle, New England, and San Fran, situational edge rusher, not a 4-down stout run defender. That's who he is, and that's kind of when you start getting to your 3 and 4 deep, you're gonna get those type of players who have certain issues and things like that. Ola Danny is another one. So we kind of anticipated that, but I said, man, we always said, and this was the big knock that people would have on Bud Dupree last year, right? They said that, hey, Bud Dupree is solely related to Bud Dupree's production is solely because of TJ Watt. And many people, when they tried to discount what Bud was doing a year ago, they simply said, you could put whoever you want on the opposite end, and it doesn't matter. When you have TJ Watt, anyone can get sacks over there. TJ Watt is TJ Watt. And we would always say, man, no, what Bud is being able to do, it opens it up for Cam and for TJ. Bud does some special things. And we saw that again this year, right? And then when Bud left, we did see the rush really started to take a hit. TJ started to take a hit. Cam started to take a hit. And it was frustrating because we put more expectations on them. We said, man, when you lose a key player, you don't look to Highsmith to step up more. You don't look to Cassius Marsh to step up more. You're not looking for backups to step up. No, you look to your A players to put together A-level performances. How many times in the past, and you always bring this up, right? If we've had injuries at receivers or not as much talent, Ben has been that force where it's like, I don't care what's going on. I'm going to make this work. A players playing like A players. We expected that from this defense yesterday, and we never got it. I understand they were put in some very, very bad situations, especially early on. The amount of drives that started on their side of the field, that's a recipe for disaster. But as a defense, when you take the field, your mindset is 3 points at worst, especially after a turnover or whatever it is. When you take the field, 3 points at worst. And it wasn't that they got scored on. It was the manner in which they got scored on. They didn't look physical.
They scored it well.
Like, when you could just see linebackers getting pancaked, D linemen getting pancaked, and this wasn't their starting offensive line, to see that was the part that just left me just at utter disgust, because I'm like, our guys are too good, and especially how good we've been against the run this year, to get out physical by the Browns, who weren't even at 100% health. Like, That was disheartening, man.
Yeah, I agree, because it goes back to the matchup of them missing all those coaches and everything, them missing all these players on the offensive line. You're like, all right, this is a given. We're gonna make some hay here, and it didn't happen at all. And even with all those things being on the negative side for the Browns, it doesn't really matter if you're just getting manhandled by these dudes. I don't care if these dudes are practice squad or not. If they're coming in here and manhandling you, now are these guys more underrated than we thought? I don't want to say that.
Right.
So then you're going back to like, what are we doing ourselves here? And yeah, dude, because I was going to talk about that. Like, I did think, as much as the offense did kill us in the first half, like they were still at like the 50. Then they scored the touchdown.
The other one, I think it took over around like the 40-ish. Yeah.
It might have been a little because he returned it.
You're right. Yes.
It was like at the 20 or something like that. So that was even a worse scenario. So, all right, maybe you could say, yeah, that's more acceptable for them to score a touchdown. It's not, like you said, worst case, field goal, but that's a little more understanding.
I just feel like for our standard defensively here, if we're talking about some of these other defenses where it was like, oh, I mean, your defense is good, they're not an elite defense, then yeah, you're fine with that. That standard is acceptable. But what do we say about our defense when we talk about the Steelers defense this year? Even when Devin Bush went down, even when Spillane went down, and then when Spillane came back, what did we still say? We said, man, this is one of the best defenses in the NFL, period. And we said this is one of the best rush defenses in the NFL, period. And none of that showed up yesterday. I didn't see, man, we couldn't stop the run. We couldn't create any type of pressure on Baker. And then we started going back and resorting back to things that we've already seen early in the year in terms of the blown coverages, in terms of allowing the big plays, in terms of the tackling as well.
Oh, yeah.
All of those things start to show up again. I mean, it was the gift and the curse, right? The gift of, we know what it is. We can identify it. We've talked about it multiple times, but it's the curse because it's still happening. We still haven't figured this thing out. We haven't figured out how to consistently address these issues. The drops, we saw that again pop up. No running game, we saw that again pop up. Then in terms of misreading coverages, we saw that pop up a little bit as well. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating because we knew how talented this Steelers team was. And that's why the hype surrounding it was what it was, because they definitely had that potential. But as we've talked about multiple times when we were being critical of them, we said that, man, this is a team that is a lightning rod. They can be really good or they can be really bad. You just really don't know who you're going to get. And at times we say, even with our key guys, when we talk about Ben, Pouncey, and those guys, right, we're like, man, we love them because of their legacy and what they've done. But this year, it hasn't been, a large body of work of the great plays that we've seen. It's been more good to sometimes you get a flash of greatness, but not consistent greatness. Whereas in the past from those guys, and not just those that I named, but all of the our usual guys, our usual A players, right? We weren't seeing a consistent A-level performance from them throughout this year. And I think that's why, especially towards the end, where you look at them going 1-5 down the stretch, it caught up to them when they started to play teams of a little bit higher caliber. And we obviously put more ramifications at the end of the season and playoffs. Talk about that road narrowing. Those things eventually caught up with them, and it was just disheartening, man.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say this too about the defense, even like with the potential comeback, because this is something me and my buddies were saying at like halftime. I think it was, what was it, 25 points? I think it was 25 points, 35-10. So we're thinking, oh man, Patriots Falcons 28-3. It could happen, right? And I think, what was the Chiefs Texans last year? That was like a 20+ point deficit.
Yeah,
but I'm just like, this is possible.
Yes, absolutely.
And what we were talking about of like,
Chiefs were down 21 as well. They were down 21 back to back weeks. I thought it was Titans and Texans that they got a big one.
I think Texans was a little bit worse. I could be wrong on this, but it was definitely over 20. And we're laying out the scenario. It's like, all right, the offense gets hot.
Yep.
Defense makes some stops. Maybe there's a turnover. That's how the comeback happens. And I felt like the offense really picked it up in the second half.
Go ahead. I want you.
They really picked it up in the second half, but I felt like the defense, they had the 3 drives. I think it was the 3 stops. But then at the end of the day, we couldn't stop Nick Chubb. We couldn't stop their offense. They were able to get like a 6-7 minute drive on us, kill the clock. Like that's what it was. Like, even I know there's probably a question about that 4th and 1, huh?
Yeah. I'm sure it is, but even if it's not,
my main thing is like that mattered, I think, to me in terms of like momentum and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they scored, but
Yep.
we scored right back within like a minute. So
Correct.
it was
And
null.
actually, I didn't have that up there. I did not. So we can't talk about that as well.
So it was null essentially. It was back to the 12-point deficit.
Mm-hmm.
They had the ball. It was like 11 or 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I do think that mattered in terms of momentum, but at the end of the day, we were still at 12 points. The same thing, a lot of time left. But then the defense couldn't get that stop, and that's where they went down on the drive, and then that ended up being like 4 or 5 minutes left.
To me, the things that really killed us, number one, the slow start murdered us. I mean, you go down 28-0 in the first quarter, you're playing catch up for the rest of the game. You're chasing points the rest of the game, which is why they had to keep going for 2 the way they were going for it. I mean, that's the situation you got put in. And this episode was brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook and app. Not only is it safe, but it is secure, and most importantly, Deke, it is reliable. And for all those first-time users out there, because we all were first-time users at one point in our life, if you use the promo code MOATS, that's a simple code, right, MOATS?
Yeah, easy to remember.
Can't forget that. If you use the promo code MOATS, though, you will receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. So, Deke, stop wasting time. Let them know that they need to download the app and use the promo code.
Me? You want me to do
Yeah,
it?
let them know.
You're the more enthusiastic person.
Just tell them, say you download it.
Come on, guys. Download it.
You heard the man. Download the app, use the promo code, and get an opportunity to make a little money.